This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can pick up some right now online at txbrewing.com. Join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club. Be a part of the community and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Lingering metallic taste in my keg, 120 volt versus 240 volt electric brewing, finding leaks in your draft system, and brewing authentic styles. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 317. I gotta unmute myself. Oh, that's embarrassing. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com. Click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them into 325-305-6107. I'm your host, Joshua Stubing, joined as always by my co-host. First, he is the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com over there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com below me, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, welcome. Oh, wait.
It sounded like you said the other thing.
Whoa. I muted y'all. What was that? I said below me, Todd. Todd, below me.
Wow. I'm offended.
Boom. Look, may have been Freudian. Oops. I think I did. Normally I'm good at the below, but I think that time I did say blow me, Todd Burns. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that slip of the old tongue. I'm sorry. Boy, oh boy, has it been. All right, I'm wearing the get up for winter, and it's 74 degrees. And this time last week, what was it up there? 20? Thursday of last week was
it cold. It got below. It got into the teens. Yeah,
it was. I don't think it was above 34 the entire time I was up there last week. It was
bad.
It was bad.
Nasty.
I'll start off the small talk by explaining to people, sorry for our absence, but our headquarters were without power for a few days. It was Icepocalypse 2023 for the last 4 or 5 years. This is like an annual thing now where we
it is. Yeah,
we get like
it was fine. I mean, Josh acted like like it wasn't good to drive on, but it was fine, right, Josh?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let me bring up that. Todd is he's a brave man. I'll just say that. And there's a really fine line between brave
or foolish. One of the two.
There's a very fine line between brave and foolish. And one of his, so the roads by Thursday had objectively been better, but the roads right outside of his place,
they weren't better.
They weren't.
They were the worst on Thursday, which I told y'all they would be.
No, but you did not until you didn't tell me that till you safely got to the office and I had to turn around in my 2021 Subaru Forester because I couldn't make that big turn. I mean,
you've got all-wheel drive. It should have been better than my truck.
I know. You might just be a better driver. When I was taking that turn and it turned me around 180.
You turned. Yeah.
I did turn. I went 180 and I was like, okay, God, I said, God, thank you for the sign.
Kept going.
And I just kept going. Exactly.
Like, whoa, no work.
Yep, I did. But then I at around noon, I made it into the office because the roads had gotten a little bit better. And I took that turn a lot better. But once I got to, what is that main highway between Comanche and Brownwood? Is that 36 is going towards Pretty.
I always call it the Prater Road.
The Prater Road. So the Prater Road was perfect. And you told me that too. You said, dude, once you get to that main...
No, the Prater Road's terrible.
No, I meant the highway.
The highway.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The highway was perfect. Was fine.
Yeah,
it was all...
77.
They had kept the highway pretty cleared. It was everything getting to the highway.
No, that's what I meant. Once I got to the highway, you weren't lying. It was perfect. I was going the speed limit and people were going 100 past me. So obviously...
people were going way too fast. And people were being stupid, like... I don't know who these people are, but they don't understand that you can't. It doesn't matter if you drive a giant, manly 4-wheel drive truck. But it doesn't matter when you're on ice,
right? Yeah.
You just slide.
I had a big truck with a horse trailer fly by me. I was bad news for that horse if they hit ice.
I thought, James, am I right that the fastest drivers in Texas are anybody pulling a horse trailer that's more than 40 feet
They're
long?
also the ones going through the drive-through. They're the ones, it's like, come on, guys, going through the bank teller.
Yeah.
I had my truck on 4-wheel drive coming in before Josh, and when I turned a corner, I went completely off the road, but once I got on the grass, my truck drove fine on the shoulder. I just drove about 200 yards on the shoulder.
That's hilarious.
But you were fine, right? You made it in, James.
James. Mine's all-wheel drive. My Toyota's all-wheel drive.
So is Josh.
We get it. He's a man. I'm not. We get it, Todd. We get it. Also, goodness, I thought it was the lighting. I forgot I put lotion on my face. I am glowing. Oh my God. Sorry for YouTube watchers. Which reminds me of my net segue. Speaking of YouTube, we just published a new video. The conclusion, the whole video actually, of our overnight mashing experiment. Let's recap that real quick, Mr. Carlson. I know you poured it. I'll give spoilers for people who haven't seen it yet. The batch is potable, but tell me the actual review.
Really, really good. So we did my basic Pilsen malt, our Pilsen recipe. We used Pilsen malt, little Carapils, single hop edition, Spalter Select. Man,
maybe we should try it. Should we try it?
Yeah, here it is.
Oh, that's just wrong. You didn't give me one?
Here, we'll talk about...
You were on the phone.
Todd, you don't get the drink because we'll recap the video. You weren't in it anyway.
Yeah, we want Todd's reaction.
Absolutely.
Can I get you one, Josh?
I hate you. I hate you so much.
I'll drink his.
So, yeah, I'll drink... Right. Hey, you know what? We had to record this a little bit later. It's close to closing time. So we do the video and we wanted to wait for the entire part of it to publish it. Cause at first we thought, we'll do a part 1 and then a part 2. But then we realized it all made more sense as one cohesive video, which funny enough, it's one of our most well-received videos we've ever published.
Lots of views and a lot of interaction.
A lot of engagement, which we appreciate. The episodes I get an hour-ish long. Not everyone wants to go on YouTube and spend that time. And if they are, they might be watching on an app on their TV, not a keyboard type of device to comment. But the engagement really helps our channel. out. Like we've been, this video has just been performing great. And I only bring that up because it makes me realize we need to do these one-offs a lot more, like a lot more frequent how-to videos or these experiments or stuff, because it seems like that's what people want out of YouTube. The audio version of our podcast gets infinitely more downloads than the video version does, which makes sense, right? We've had reviews of people telling us we've ruined their jogging and stuff. So people are listening to us when they're active.
Look at that.
Wait, Todd's looks even clearer than yours.
Yeah.
Here you go, Josh. I'll give you
I was gonna say you're
in your mouth.
I hate y'all. Todd, all right, on camera reaction of the overnight mash pills.
Yep. That's a good solid beer.
You like it for real? You to be honest.
Yeah.
Where is I can edit this out. Tell us the truth. What do you feel?
I think it's good. Yeah, it's got a little bite to it. Yeah.
I got to try it when we did the video recording. I thought it tasted great. I thought, especially considering, so hey, I'll just spoil it real quick. But for the whole thing, go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour and watch it. But the gist is we did it, which our initial premise was cut off heat, cut off recirculation, come back to it in the morning. And when we did, there was some lacto on top of the grains. So James
clearly, I mean, you could see it. We did a close up on it. And it was there. And
so James skimmed it. We went through with it. I was the devil on his shoulder going, dump it, James. We'll do it a different time. Dump it. And he was like, no. so we didn't. So he went through with the brew day. And about at the end of the sparge, you're like, you know what, Josh? I really think this might actually turn out fine. And then by the time it was by the time we were pitching yeast and all that, you're like, dude, I really think this is going to turn out great. Fast forward 11 days, I'm up there again, and you're like, try this. I was like, that's not the same batch. It can't be. You're like, it is. So you must have boiled out the lacto, or it just must not have adulterated the grains, or? Yeah,
it wasn't enough there to cause any kind of issues.
Wouldn't it, if you boiled it, once you boiled it, wouldn't that kill the lacto?
Well, yeah, it absolutely would kill the lacto, and that's what I was mentioning to people. Comments on the video. What it won't kill is the byproduct the lacto produces, which is the sourness. So probably wasn't enough there to even affect the taste of the beer. But it's like
maybe there's a tiny bit of that, what I would call the bite that you normally get on a Pilsner. Maybe there's a little bit in that. Yeah. Can you taste it? Can you taste anything like that?
The bite I associate with that specific type of yeast I use. That's the ones, I've noticed it has that bite on that previous batch I did.
That's awesome. And so again, I could go on and on about the experiment, but just go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Go watch the video for yourself. Leave us a comment. If you're watching us on YouTube for every episode, leave us a comment, whether it's a feedback on the episode or whatever. I did not realize till this last video how much that helps. It helps get our channel growth going. And if you're
and one quick thing about that is that we had a lot of comments. There's lots of people that do that with coolers and it doesn't produce any lacto. And I think the reason why I did with mine is it bled the heat off a lot quicker, and it's not as sealed up as a cooler is. So at the end of the day, it's just a lid. I do have a piece of insulation on the lid to try to keep the temperature in as much as possible. But I think, once you fall below 145 degrees, that's what when I was in the restaurant industry, we call that the danger zone. So that's the area where bacteria like to survive and multiply and all that. So I think we infused it about 150, something like that. Shut everything off. So I think that we stirred it real good, got it good hydrated, shut everything off. And I think it didn't take long for it to fall down into the beta, and it just kept falling, and it fell quick enough and stayed in there long enough that it got inoculated. But still, it didn't affect. I would be happy to drink this.
Absolutely. If I was a better producer and not just lazy, I would have started editing in that song, Highway to the right when you're just as soon as you said danger zone, I thought Top Gun. Anyway, speaking of brewing, Mr. Burns, Icepocalypse didn't stop you. My understanding,
It helped me. It helped me.
It helped you. You were getting through dry. Oh no, you had already finished dry January. That's right, because the cruise was the final thing. You came back from the cruise and just had a fire lit under you. Talk about your brewing the last 8 days, or was it 8 days? 4 batches in 8 days.
Yeah, so a batch every other day on average. I like that. So I did. First of all, we had the whole thing happen, and then we were kind of couldn't get out. So, that's why I pretty much did the batch in the middle of the week, which is unusual. When you were there, you kind of watched me do it.
I did not help at all.
Not at all.
I didn't.
So I did a batch the Saturday before, and then the following weekend, my wife went out of town, and I was by myself. So I decided, what the hell, I'll do another batch. So I did a batch on Saturday, and I ended up brewing first a California Common, and then I brewed a
English mild,
English mild, and then last but of course not least, I brewed a red, which was an Irish red, and then I decided on Sunday. So I had been reading a lot of stuff about herm systems and what to brew. So I brewed something else, but we're going to talk about that on next week's podcast,
episode.
right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's
Because I wanted to talk about it on this week,
and
I'm sorry to not be able to tell you all about it, but Josh
I refused.
wouldn't let me talk about it.
I
because he
refused.
said that I was trying to change his schedule at the last minute.
Last minute, you were trying to change the entire structure and integrity of this episode, and I won't have it as the show's only producer. Okay, I won't have it. But so yeah, Todd brewing so much, and I am excited to say that we're going to have
that's 60 gallons, by the way.
Yeah, it's a lot of booze. And you said you have a keg of English mild for me, and I don't know if that's because you didn't like how it turned out, or if you're just being friendly.
No, it's delicious.
It is absolutely delicious. In fact, I'm pretty convinced that we should do that as a recipe.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was easy to do, and it is super, super tasty. It's really, really good. It only has, the style calls for, I think, between like 3 and 4.5% alcohol. I mean, I just barely made it at the 4.5%. It was pretty close.
It did call for 3.5, and you're like, nope, I'm bumping it up. You don't want to brew 3.5.
No, that's not true. I actually removed some grain from it to try to keep it down as much as I could, but I didn't actually want it. Let me see. English.
Oh gosh. Okay. While you're doing that, that's a great segue for me to just remind people, Trub Club recipe for this month, because we didn't have an episode last week to talk about it. Boom, they're up on the screen. The Irish Dry Stout, not the Irish Red. Maybe in the future we'll do Todd's Irish Red, but for this month, it's the Irish Dry Stout. It's a delicious, used to be one of the true to styles when Kekenitchen was in the ingredients game, and it ships out, obviously, you heard it at the top of the show, with grains from our pals at Muntons, hops from our friends at Hops Direct, and the premium liquid yeast from our friends at Imperial Yeast. It's their strain Darkness, which has been great for stouts. My dad and I use that when we can get it for our breakfast stout, and it's always yielded fantastic results. I think you guys would agree with that. So if you want to brew the Irish Dry Stout with us this month, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. And remember that those kits ship out the last Monday of every month now. I've been committed to a schedule for this year, 2023. Before, it was kind of people, like, can I get this earlier? Or I would email them like, I'm going to do this or this, but people like consistency in the club. So I'm sticking to the last Monday, even though Todd did tell me our FedEx rep did remind us FedEx is now delivering Saturdays and Sundays. So,
yeah. So you could send it on a Friday and it wouldn't make any difference.
Absolutely.
Well, I shouldn't say that. It would make a difference if somebody's very rural.
Yes.
So as long as you're they deliver Saturday and Sunday consistently to like over 80% of the population. but some of the rural areas, that's not true.
Yeah.
So
and you were gonna brew that Irish dry stout, but I think we were missing some of the.
You were missing ingredients.
We were missing some that are coming in before, obviously, so we can get these out. But it is a great recipe. I'm pretty sure, James, it's your recipe because it was one of the last Keg Connection True to Styles we ever did, and I've brewed it. My dad and I brewed it. Or was that the chocolate stout? I know we've had it on tap before because I did the artwork for one of our boards. Was it you, Todd, that had it on tap?
I don't remember.
Okay, but either way, it's a solid. It's basically Guinness, right? It's not the Guinness clone per se, but it's in that style. So it's basically a health drink when you look at Guinness. People always they always get shocked by that. Low ABV, low calorie. I don't know the carbohydrate count, but either way, it's a delicious recipe. And again, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. What else in small talk?
I got to you said you were going to do that, and then you were going to come back to me so I could finish.
Oh, go ahead.
Lee. So I was trying to remember what I'd been reading, but there's not a very good answer on exactly what the alcohol style should be. Anywhere from 2.8 to 5% is what I find online. I think I didn't look that up, but I think the American Homebrew Association says something like 3 to 4.5. So I'm right in there, but I looked at 2.8. I'm like, I can't spend all day brewing a beer that's 2.8. I just can't do it.
He didn't like the thought of it. But if the taste is good, said the English mile turned out great. So that's all that matters.
It tastes so good. So
okay, what else?
The other one was the Irish red.
Yes.
I took quite a bit of grain out of that to keep it under the certain alcohol level. And I'm glad I did because it turned out in the right range, but it wouldn't have if I'd have left the grain in. So that's one thing, I guess, when we're sending recipes out or you're getting any recipe, when you get that sheet of paper and it says this will come out at, 5% alcohol, according to everything that's put in here. The thing you don't ever know about is your efficiency. So you have to understand that with your system, you may have to subtract or add some grain to make it come out exactly where that sheet says. And you kind of learn that over time.
We do. And I thought you were just trying to plug another reason to say, my system is very efficient.
The brow tag is a very efficient system.
It is. It's incredible. Super Bowl Sunday. I think I can say that because we're not a commercial entity. If not, just beep, beep. The big game is on Sunday. I know, Todd, you care so much, don't you?
Oh, it's this Sunday.
It is this Sunday.
Okay, nice. I care. One of our biggest partners, Fox, that we deal with a lot, both with CM Becker and Keg Connection. They're out of Kansas City, and the people there are much easier to deal with when they win the Super Bowl. So I'm going to have to.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's who I'm going to have to support.
Absolutely. Go KC. I think they're playing Philly. Which listeners can tell us if I'm wrong, because James, you're the football guy. If there was going to be a football guy in our group, are you excited about the game? Is it a big game?
No.
Okay. I didn't know
because my team's not in it.
The only thing
I won't tell anybody at Fox you said that.
I get excited.
Yeah, well, Rob knows. He knows. Yeah,
I get excited about Super Bowl because the parties. Like we were gonna have a big old ring of shrimp, and we're gonna have like cheese and meats, and we're gonna the food is my favorite part. I could not care less about the game. Even the commercials, they've been lame for like 15 years. I couldn't care less about those. I just did go to my pop's house like a normal Sunday, drink Kolsch, smoke cigars, and eat extra food. It's like Thanksgiving for the first quarter of the year. I'm very excited about it. That wasn't a pun for a football joke, but
sounded like it.
I know, right? It did. Oh, and then the last but not least, we can announce that it's official. It just happened a couple of days ago. Let me see if I have it up on. Boom! We are officially going to be presenting at HomebrewCon 2023.
Oh, yeah.
In San Diego, California, in beautiful San Diego, California. We're giving a talk on all about draft systems. We're going to be talking about bottling versus kegging, the different types of solutions for draft systems, and we're going to take questions. We're going to have a Q&A. You can, in the show notes, I'll have the link for our official seminar spot that they put on the HomebrewCon website, and they have little bios about us too. I don't get mad at me, guys, if y'all don't like the pictures I used of y'all. But anyway, I'm terribly excited, and I believe we've chosen to drive there, aren't we, Todd? Because we're gonna have so much stuff. Isn't that what we're doing? Probably.
That's you and James's decision. So whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I'm in. I've already told you I'm in.
Me too. Todd knows he got me over my fear of flying in the early days of me traveling for Keg Connection, because he was like, I used to try to drive everywhere, and he'd be like, no, can't have that. That takes like an extra day. Too bad, so sad. And so he put me on plane all the time. But this time when he suggested driving, I don't know if you thought I was going to be like, no, man, because I still love driving. I love the road. It'll be fun. Little road trip to San Diego, go see the North American West. We're going to be going through for sure, some of New Mexico, Arizona, and then right to Cali? Or do you go through Nevada? I don't know geography. I don't know math. I don't know science.
Yeah, no, you just you go from Arizona straight into California.
Perfect. It's going to be cool.
Because San Diego's at the very
bottom,
which would be, most people would call south, but for you, it's the very bottom of the map.
That was good. That didn't go over my head. You thought it was going to go over my head. It did not. It's the bottom.
So it's really a very straight shot from Tucson.
Absolutely. I'm looking at
And we get to go through Yuma. You've probably never been to Yuma, have you?
I've never been to Yuma. No.
Like all the Western movies that had Yuma in them. Yeah.
That's going to be fun. So all of that being said, that was our small talk. I got it. I think I got everything in there that I had to get in. We do have a packed show for y'all. 4 total questions. Starting off, the first one's a voicemail. It's our buddy Sid from California.
Hello, James. Hello, Todd. I forget the other guy's name that works on this show, but hey to you two guys. This is Sid from Folsom, California. Had a question I'm hoping you guys can help me out with. Ended up brewing an alt beer, which I was excited to send you guys a sample of because it came out awesome after fermentation. Problem is, I stuck it into my keg, and I have a new floating dip tube. And after trying the first draw, just kept shooting air out. So I decided to weigh it down with a 10-millimeter stainless steel nut, only to find out after a few days of tasting it that it was not quite as stainless steel as I thought, and my beer ended up tasting like a roll of copper pennies. So ended up tossing out the beer, rinsing out the keg, doing what I always do, which is to rinse it with PBW, let it soak for about 30 minutes, then put in some, rinse it out, put in some sanitizer, put it out, put in a wheat beer in there to taste it, and lo and behold, my wheat beer tastes like a roll of copper pennies. So I'm wondering if I'm screwed, if there's something else I can do to get that taste out of my keg and out of my future beers. Hoping you guys can help me out with this. And of course, Josh, I know it's you. Love you. Thanks for being part of the show. And hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks.
He brought it full circle. That was good, Sid, because I was going to be like, at first, the inflection of his voice, I was like, you're not Californian. You sound Canadian, eh? But so first off, what a bummer pitching beer.
Yeah.
Especially a keg of alt beer. We would have found a way to not. We would have just been like, no, it's supposed to be metallic.
It's the style.
I just can't imagine a nut made the whole keg taste that way, though. I wonder if he was pulling it through that dip tube and tasting it, or if he was using some other way to get it out of the keg and tasting it.
Well, and that's why I was going to throw it to you, because you're the keg man. Have you ever had a component, whether it be floating dip tube or, lid or O-rings or poppets or whatever, has anything ever been the culprit for off flavors?
No.
Or metallic off flavors, because we know obviously like a bad poppet might be open and it lets oxygen in, and that we've had people, get that kind of cardboard taste, and that was the culprit. We did the leaky water test or the soapy water test and blah, blah, blah. But I've never, I'm assuming I was reading it, following along as he was talking. He's using the same thing over and over to weigh it down, right? For those last 2 ones, he rinsed it with PBW and all that, and but he's used the same floating dip tube. Do you think for troubleshooting it, Todd, would you, if you're using that same keg, what would you do? Would you install a proper proper, in air quotes, dip tube, traditional dip tube, and try dispensing from that? At what point, what troubleshooting are you doing, and at what point are you giving up on the keg if it keeps yielding the same kind of taste?
I mean, it's never happened to me before. I've never had a metallic taste that came from the keg, but he's saying, of course, that it came from this floating dip tube, but he didn't say that on the second beer he used a floating dip tube or not. So I don't know if he did.
Okay, that's a good point. That is a great.
I mean,
point.
I would imagine if he was having that issue, he probably put the original dip tube back in, but maybe not. I just don't know.
Or he used the floating dip tube and he changed out the weight or whatever he used for a weight, or he didn't use a weight at all. Maybe.
I always use a lead fishing weight when I'm doing that. I'm kidding.
I was going to say, I'm not editing that out. I was about to. Because
it doesn't. You may get lead poisoning. But
but
you don't have that metallic taste, so it's okay.
I was going to joke and say, Sid, I think that's a symptom of a small stroke. You might want to see somebody. Tastes like pennies.
I don't know. I've never. It's never happened to me, and I don't know. I'm just before he poured the whole batch out, I think he should have probably put it in a glass carboy or something and sent a. Like a 128 ounce sample to me and let me try it. So,
okay. Joking aside, though, it wouldn't have been maybe the worst idea to transfer it maybe to another keg, let it sit, or like if there's an off flavor from PBW residual or whatever metallic thing, would that be now in the whole body of the beer? Or do you think time could be your friend if it's in a different vessel? I don't know.
We don't use PBW. We use Brew Clean.
Yeah.
So I don't have we used to use it years and years ago. So, but I don't remember it caused. Most people. It's not like it's a no rinse cleaner. You got to rinse that out.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure he would have rinsed that out. Right. So I don't think it would be the cleaner. Man, I don't know. James, you have any ideas?
Yeah, James, what do you think?
I would probably take like a super fine Scotch Brite and some really good black Brew Clean and scrub it. You get your hand in the keg and you can scrub it really good, let it sit, scrub it and rinse it and see what happens. I don't understand. I can't see how it would stay in there if it was just a one-time deal, but obviously he's got something going on because he tasted it in the other batch. So
if this show was Stump the Chump, it got us. Because like you said, Todd, this isn't something we've have experience with. Now, the metallic off flavor is sometimes part of a flaw of a beer, right? But to have it with two different batches in the same keg, that's now probably
kind of narrows it down,
right? Exactly.
And I know copper can. I've heard that copper could cause that exposed, but I would think it would be more than a little nut that you think stainless steel, because. The reason he thought it was stainless steel it would be that it was coated with. He didn't mention it. I wonder if the coating came, because you wouldn't mistake stainless steel for copper unless it was chromed, right?
Right.
So I wonder if the chroming came off, or I don't know if we had without him here to ask, I just don't know what could have happened.
And that gives Sid a perfect chance to do a follow-up feedback off voicemail.
On the Hefeweizen, I think you should definitely send us samples and let us see if we can taste the metallic taste.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that. You could, it's 1800 EDC Parkway. When people are asking,
you don't like Hefeweizen.
Correct.
You're saying that. So side note, sorry, real quickly, my wife very much wants me to brew a Hefeweizen. So it looks like I'm going to be brewing a Hefeweizen next time.
I'm glad,
which is great because I won't have to share it with either one.
I was just, when my dad and I did the Hefeweizen, that was the most Liz ever complimented my beer. It was
the funny thing is I was like, tell me, because I had her try a couple that I happened to have at the house, and she didn't really care for either one of them. And I was like, what did you really like about that one from Big Bend Brewing Company, which went out of business after they won a gold medal for it?
Yeah.
And she's like, I really like that strong banana and clove flavor. And I was like, yep, not going to have to share this beer with Josh and James.
Now, if you want clove, I can make her a Kolscheweizen. I know how to mess up a Kolsch. Actually, that Kolsch I have on tap still, the best Kolsch ever. Anyway, I'm going to throw this out to the community as well. Sid, please leave us a voicemail feedback. But anyone there who uses floating dip tubes or has to weight them down or has had this problem before, like, yeah, it was this or this of the keg, or if there's questions we're not asking to get to it, let us know in the comments below. Email Joshua at homebrewhappyhour.com or get yourself a gift card and leave it as a voicemail feedback to 325-305-6107. Like I said, get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. What was that, Mr. Burns?
Oh, just one more thing. So, we should probably mention that all three of us use floating dip tubes quite a bit.
Oh, in fermentation.
In our fermentation system. And I have never had I've never had a situation where they didn't pick up. So it sounds like maybe it's a poor design.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. You're right. We don't, though. I use the Anvil Fermenter King, and then I also use the Brewzilla Firmzilla, or in Brewzilla the ones who make Firmzilla, or Kegland. Kegland makes them, right? The Aussies, they make them. I do a mean Australian accent. I won't do it for the show, but
please don't.
Yeah, they all 1-star reviews. Oh, mate. Anyways, but those are both great fermenters, and you're right. Neither one of them, Todd, have given me a problem, and I can't. They have those. Are the weights those big circle balls that are at the end of it, or that is the actual?
That is the actual,
right? Yeah. Exactly.
I don't think. I mean, I would look real quick, but they're all at my house right now. Sorry, guys.
Even the one in the brew room. Did you end up taking it?
Oh yeah,
because you needed it because you have 60 gallons of
ferment. Yeah, dude, I brewed 60 gallons and I never put anything in buckets. I transfer. That mild was done so quick, completely. I transferred it into secondaries to keep the alcohol from getting too high, and then I already kegged it. So within 8 days, it was ready to drink. Isn't that incredible?
That is so incredible. But anyways, let me move us on because we're already
I want to talk some more about brewing my beer.
We're already like 33 minutes in. I got to get this rolling. We got 3 more questions. The second question got himself a $15 gift card because he texted us to our hotline at 325-305-6107. Our buddy Ed wrote, Ed from Oklahoma here. Josh, looking to go electric, looking at the Clawhammer 10 gal 120 or their 240. Current space would need an electrician to make it 240. Worth it? Is time saving the only perk of 240? Cheers. That's a great question. When I got the G40 from Grainfather, which I absolutely love as an all-in-one, it's great. I didn't have a choice, right? I forgot that there are a lot of people, Anvil, Clawhammer, Spike, I believe they all have that 110, 220, or pardon me, 120, 240. We're going to have to talk about those too, because I always thought it was 110 and 220, and apparently it's 120 and 240. And I don't know if that's some Mandela effect thing going on or if I'm just an idiot, but there's always options.
Yeah, I can explain it real quick when you're done.
Okay. But there's always options for them, right? Todd, the time saving thing is the perk for me. So if I have a chance to get it 240, I want that because it makes brew day quicker. Everything just seems more controllable and smooth. What are your thoughts on 120 versus 240? And explain it for the people at home who don't know the difference of 120. Not like me. Okay. I know it. But
so the difference, real quick, is 110 is kind of like everything's designed to work down to 110. But most electric companies supply you with 120. And then anytime you go up, you double it. So if your electric, let's say in my house, it might be 215 right now. So that means when I double it, it's going to be 230 because I'm taking off both legs.
Yeah.
So it's usually, 110, 120, 220, 240 are the same thing. I know that doesn't make total sense, but they're the same thing, depending on what your electric company's supplying.
Gotcha.
Mine's actually the last time I checked mine, it was actually higher. So, I don't have 120 at my house. I have 123. So
is that not a fire?
Yeah, mine's like 118.
Yeah.
Really?
So it just varies a lot. So what's the advantage? Well, the advantage is that it's basically going to be twice as fast. You're able to heat a much larger element because you're basically taking two legs and you're getting twice the energy out of it. So it's just going to be much faster.
Which again, for a brew day is a desirable perk. Like that's, but I mean, I think most questions that come in about brew days, a lot of them for us happen to be, how can I shorten up my brew day, or how can I make?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a no brainer for me. I would definitely go with 220.
Yeah, who wants to wait for 120 to boil? Even on a 5-gallon batch, it takes a while.
It does.
But,
it does.
You know, we brought that one all-in-one to Germany and did a batch of alt beer in Dusseldorf, of all places, the alt beer mecca, and it was 220, and it didn't take long at all, did it, Todd? For 5 gallons to heat up. That was a fun day. It was a bucket list day.
Yep.
Teaching Germans how to brew, teaching local Krefeld, which is in that region, local Dusseldorfians how to brew an alt. That's hilarious. I wish,
and they loved it. Stefan's kept it in the keg for 5-6 months, and he had it for his birthday party, and he said everybody loved it.
Yep, that's true. That's pretty.
I never saw so many barely clad, overweight Germans than I did in the pictures he sent us that day.
Our friend Keith, when he traveled to Europe, it was during one of the greatest
heat waves
they had ever had. And he said he would take his kids somewhere swimming and realized that everybody was naked.
Everybody. Yeah, I've heard that story from him.
Yeah,
he was like, even at some of the town fountains, he was like, oh yeah, there's naked people swimming in these too. Like, can you imagine in Texas when we did a heat wave, if everyone's just like, all right, that's it for clothes. Like,
well, you're by a place called Hippie Holler.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember hearing from people when we were in high school that went there. They're like, it's not the people you want to see naked. Don't.
It almost never is. Yeah.
Don't go
I went
there.
with a bunch of managers, and we paid our $8 to get in, and I never saw so many naked men in my whole life.
That's like hiking to Twin Falls or whatever it's called at the Barton Creek Greenbelt. I used to do that all the time. Ride bikes to go to rock climbing there, and there'd always be this rock in the middle of the creek where old naked men would just be like 5 or 10 of them just out there like, hey, come in, the water's fine. Like, just keep pedaling. Growing up in Austin was great, guys. I turned out just fine. So wrapping up for Ed's question, because I mean, I don't want to drag it out like I usually do, just because we have so much more questions to go. I think I agree with y'all. Now, the real part of his question that I want to address before we move on, it is, you would say, like, if you're building out a brew space or you have a spot already, how much do you think that costs on average? Just making up a number if you think, because Todd, you're going to be like, I would do it myself, so it cost me whatever the parts and that are. But
it's for me, it's pretty cheap. Well, the wire's expensive now, but it just depends. A lot of it depends on how far you have to run it.
Okay.
Because wire's by far the most expensive thing right now. The parts themselves aren't expensive at all. I mean, like $10 for the plug and the box and all that. It's primarily just the cost of the wire and the cost of an electrician.
You think you could get out of there for under $1,000 for a project? Like, you're running it.
I would think maybe
it just depends on the area and if you had to have just pick up the phone and call somebody to put it in, it could be expensive. But
I would think if you found a decent electrician, I mean, it wouldn't take an electrician long at all to do, depending on the situation. Maybe I would imagine a really good electrician. I could do it in an hour, so a real good electrician could probably do it in 15 minutes, right? So,
wait a second. This sounds like a $5 bet, maybe. I don't think you could do it in less than an hour in my garage, running it and installing it where I want it.
Okay. Well, we could talk about a bet there.
Yeah, I would definitely bet that.
I'm trying to get Todd to just come do it for me.
I'll bet you $5.
Yeah.
But that's the only.
I can't do it. It's your house. I can only do electrical work in my house.
Good answer.
You can do the work though.
Good answer.
You can do the work.
No way. You know how terrified I had. My buddy's dad is a master electrician, and he helped me over the phone 8 or 9 years ago at our old house change out a GFCI. And it probably took 2.5 hours because most of it was me trembling. He'd go, Don't be a sissy. Just do this. Earl Lovell, I know you're not listening, but we got it installed, man. We did it.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we built a darkroom, and my dad had me hammering a nail into the wall, and I went right through an electrical line. And it literally went kablam! It was really loud, and I fell off the ladder, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And he was like, "Electricity is our friend. Don't be scared of electricity."
That sounds like what your dad would say. Oh, God. So, Ed, thank you so much for submitting that. Moving on, we do have a third question for y'all. It is another voicemail, which, again, reminder, when you send a voicemail, you get a $25 gift card to kedconnection.com at 325-305-6107. It's our buddy Nate from Oregon.
Hey, this is Nate from Oregon. I'm just wondering if you guys can run through how to check for leaks on a draft system. I already have the keys set up. I'm just wondering if there's like a measured process for going through and checking every connection, or if there's a certain order that should be done to make sure I don't have any leaks. Secondly, is it safe to leave your CO2 bottle connected, or will that inevitably lead to a bleeding out tank? Should I be turning it off when I'm not using it? Thank you guys all. You guys are all great. Even Josh. Thanks. Bye.
I like it. People have caught on. I can be self-deprecating. It's okay. Checking a leak is actually one of the video ideas we're going to record, because we get this in email to the help inbox all the time, right, Todd? Like, the two main questions I think you get about draft systems is, why isn't my pressure or the tank capacity gauge really moving much? And then the other one is, my tank emptied after like a week. What's going on? Like, we get unfortunately, connections may loosen a little. People don't tighten them all the way, or O-rings are forgotten, or there's a number of factors, but you do have kind of a standardized test you do for finding the leak on your system, don't you?
Yeah. In fact, I had a leak last night. I could literally hear it, and what it was a disconnect that a hose was pushing on really hard, and I think it was making it go sideways a little, and it was leaking around the O-ring. But I just happened to, I could kind of tell that was going on, so I found that one pretty quick. But usually what I do is I get a 32-ounce plastic bottle with a sprayer on it, and you can buy those at the hardware, Home Depot, pretty much any hardware store will sell those with the nozzle. Or if you've got a cleaning, some kind of cleaning product that obviously they all come with that, and you're finished with it, you can rinse it out and use that. And then you just, you put in a decent amount of soap, say, maybe a couple of ounces of soap with maybe 28 ounces of water or 26 ounces of water. And you get that mixed up. And then I usually set the spray head so it's not misting, but it's actually doing a fairly good stream. And I just hit everything in there with it. So I hit the regulators. I hit every connection. I hit every disconnect. I hit everything with it. And I wait and look for bubbles. The air distributor, everything, anywhere where you've got anything connecting to the hose.
To gas.
You don't have to spray all the way down the hose where it's not connecting to anything, but you spray everything else. And if you've got a leak, you'll start seeing bubbles. The
old soapy water test. Now, I want to get clarification from you if this even matters. When I'm making my mixture, my blend, I don't, like you said, mix it well. I do, in the fact that I actually have the water in first. I get the soap in there. I personally don't want it super soapy, because then when I'm using it, I want the air leak to be what makes the bubbles, because that makes it easier for me to spot. Does that make sense, or am I doing it wrong?
No, I don't understand what you're saying.
No, I'm saying, like, I have a mixture of soapy water, but I let it settle to where it's not just all bubbles already.
No, I mix it up well.
So you don't mind, because if it's a leak anyways, it's going to create more bubbles. So you don't mind.
No, there's no bubbles. I mean, the dip tube for the sprayer goes to the bottom of the bottle. The only bubbles would be on the top.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Well, I still have found leaks this way, so I'm not a complete idiot. Don't talk to me that way. But you don't look at me that way. But I mean, like, I get it and I mix it and then I give it like, I don't know, 10 minutes or whatever for it to settle so that the inside just looks like, dirty, not dirty.
It shouldn't matter because you're pulling from the bottom.
Okay. Well, not one.
It's kind of like a glass of beer.
But remember in the old, yeah.
If you pour a glass of beer, you got head on top. Well, if you put a straw in it, the head wouldn't affect it,
That was good. I was just imagining the straw in the beer. You would make.
I would never drink a beer with a straw. I just want to make that really clear.
When Josh drinks his beer with the straw, don't you notice you don't get the head? You just.
I like a little ice in there and then a straw.
Todd showed me a stupid human trick, James, of how to make instant head on what was the beer you had that I made. I made fun of your pour.
He was like, "Oh, you're a real beer professional. You look at the head on that." So I just shot some beer between my teeth back into the glass and it made a perfect head.
It did. I wish I'd gotten it on video. It was incredible. Now, James, do you have a draft system at home too?
I do that all the time when I serve people beer, by the way, just to make sure the head's right.
Yeah, my flow control's not set up.
Like it's the baby bird beer way.
It's the baby bird beer. Holy moly. Now at your home system, when you have leaks, is it like with Todd, do you luck out to where, I hear it, thank God? Or have you had those ones like, son of a gun, I've gone through 2 tanks now.
Yeah, I had a slow leak. A tank valve O-ring had went bad. So we all have our systems and we know how long a bottle of gas should last. And this one was really quick. So I knew something was up and took the bottle back and it had eventually separated. When I went to fill it up, I could hear it immediately. As soon as the gas started hitting the bottle, it started, making a hissing sound. So we took the valve off and replaced it and it's fine now. I
always like it when it's audible because that takes out 90% of the work. Like the worst leaks for me are crap. Something's leaking. My whole system has. We only have 4 taps, so it's not like on Todd's. Well, you have in one setup 6, and then the other one 3. So in the big Keyser, if it's a silent leak, that's a lot of connections.
I've got 9 gas lines in there.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because all the secondaries.
I have the 6, and then I have 2 extras, so in case I want to put a different carbonation level, and then I have the one I use for forced carbonating, and I've got 3 regulators and a 6-way manifold. So I got some places for it to leak.
You have a ton.
I've definitely had leaks.
And like you said, it can be so gradual of tubing is messing with the connection to where it takes months and it's nothing you did as much as it was just gravity at work or whatever. And then, I
wouldn't like, I like one of the things he said about, should I turn it off or not turn it off? This is something that I found very, very helpful in my own system. If I suspect I have a leak, I turn it off at night. The next day when I come, I will check all the beers. And if I have a keg and it doesn't have any pressure on it, that's where my leak is.
Ah, I like that.
So that helps a lot. And a lot of times that's a disconnect or a post where it's just maybe it needs more lube. Maybe you got a hose really pulling hard on it. And it's not making a good connection. So.
Well, and like you said, that bringing up the post and the stuff, that everywhere your air is going towards in a connection point is where you need to be checking it with soapy water. Like you starting at I just follow the system. Like if you look at kegconnection.com, the way keg kits are listed, I follow kind of the diagram of the kit of I'm going down the gas line at that connection, and now I'm going to the air distributor, and now I'm going to the disconnect, now I'm going to the kegs on the post and the lid, now I'm going to the, because anywhere gas is going through, like you said, it could be the culprit of your leak. And if you don't have the benefit of a loud, audibly perceivable leak, then you just have to test everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything. Oh, you know what? Let's give the math. You have the math. What should if you're not forced carbonating, what is the amount of 5-gallon corny kegs you should expect ballpark to get from a 5-pound CO2 cylinder? Okay,
so it's the rule of thumb is 0.5 pound per full size keg. So that's 0.5 pound would do 3 corny kegs. So there's 10 half a pounds in a 5-pound cylinder. So it's 3 times 10.
That's 30. I did it.
Yay!
I had my phone. And my toes.
So now, did you do that right? Is that right?
I don't know if you did the math right. You told me
okay,
10,
so
10 by, you said 30. You said 30 times, or pardon me, you said 3 times 10, not 30 times 10. You said 3 times 10. 30 sounds right. 30 is what I've always told people if they're not 4-star. If they 4-star, you've told me just cut it in half.
Cut it in half.
Yeah,
cut it in half.
That's the
it's probably not really half, but cut it in half, and you have a good idea.
Yeah. So when people write in, or if you're listening and you've never written in, and you're like, no, I only get 5, or I only get 7 5-gallons, and I don't 4-star at all, you have a leak. Yeah, like that is probably not the standard, or that's not the normal. It shouldn't be the normal that you're getting so little if you don't have other factors going on. One of those factors possibly being a leak. So anyways, Nate, thank you so much for submitting that question. I got us through it, guys, to our 4th and final question. Our buddy Mitchell P. wrote into us using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Mitchell wrote, "Hello, Joshua, James, and Todd. Longtime listener here. I'm also the proud owner of 3 Keg Connection Chuda-style metal placards you sold what seems like forever ago." It was forever ago.
It was forever
the
ago.
ESB was my favorite style and happened to be my favorite placard. Great work on both. My question is about brewing authentic styles. I spend time researching and creating the water profile for the ESB, but I never asked if the grains were local to England. What are your thoughts on using grains specifically from the country or region of the country style you're wanting to brew? Same with hops. Am I a big phony for using domestic grains in a foreign style? I don't actually care so much as I just want to hear James and Todd's thoughts. Good work on everything. You too, Joshua. Love you all, Mitchell. I never get included.
Where are my signs?
I don't know.
I had all 3 of those. Did you?
Well, we had 4. No, I took 4 when they came in for me.
I took mine, and then we ended up needing them for kits.
So that's what I'm thinking happened. Is I ended up having to give them back.
We did send one of yours to when we did the Master Brewer program. We did send yours, Todd, and we signed it. I think the 3 of us, or we signed the letter. I think it went to our buddy Jeff. I believe our buddy Jeff Wilkin. He listens to the show. Very active on our socials, but. Yes, first off, let me say thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it. One of the favorite things I get to do is any of these kind of creative works. Like doing the placards was so much fun. And the recipe building is all James, though. I cannot take credit for any of that. But the recipes were,
and Todd, he's been doing recipes too.
That's right.
Thank you, James. I appreciate that.
Todd is included in my gratitude, like listeners submitting questions include me. It's an afterthought. But the recipes were solid. We still brew them. The Kolsch is, I've barely tweaked it what your recipe was, James, for my own. But the ESB, Todd, went with that one and tweets it. We all use those as kind of a starting point, if not just replicating them all together. When you're making the authentic ones, does the source of the grains come into your thought, James, when you were designing something?
Because you can't always rely on being able to get those.
Right.
So what I do, and everybody knows this, but that's what I go by. So the BJCP style guideline tells you what each style typically uses in base malt, roasted malt, specialty malts, hops, typical yeast, flavor profiles. And then the trick is to try to recreate as close as possible to the type of beer that you're trying to brew, like a London ESB or a German Pilsner or a Dusseldorf alt beer or a Cologne Kolsch. You're not always going to be able to get the kind of grains that they use. And I don't know if it would be to a diehard. Yeah, they would say, yes, you need to recreate, use exactly what they're using, the yeast they're using, and also the water profile.
Yeah. And
I don't disagree with that, but we can be kind of realistic and know our limits to doing that in day-to-day homebrewing. And a lot of times it's just not possible to do.
I would argue it's not even authentic unless you're bartering eggs for the wheat from the town's farmer to get it. unmodified grains, I mean, I'm kidding to an extent, but I'd always get a kick when some people are gatekeepers about, especially with brewing. The gatekeepers are always, extract brewing is not real brewing, where it's like, well, come on, guys. Like, what do you mean? They're making beer. It is real brewing.
Yeah.
It is absolutely real brewing. They're just cutting out a thing for either, they're cutting out a method either for time saving or lack of equipment. But at the end of the day, they're still brewing beer. Extract brewing is brewing beer. And we know people who almost exclusively brew extract and make phenomenal beer. But I'm going on a tangent just because I'm saying, like, the pursuit of being true to style and the literal, like, purest ancient meaning of the word might make you have an aneurysm of worry, where this is very much for me like a relax, don't worry, have a homebrew. If you can source the German, floored malt or whatever it would be using for the birch, what was that? Not birch. What was the one Birk malt that Horst recommended for the alt beer? Like, when you look at it, it was all this German stuff, but we can't always get that stuff, especially now with the conflict in Ukraine still and COVID. People still blame COVID for things like the shortage and all that. We're happy to get what we get when we're brewing, and like with our kits, they're all English malts. So if you get the ESB, hey, this time it's going to absolutely be authentic Maris Otter from our friends at Muntins. However, if we're brewing a Czech Pils, it's going to be lager malt from Muntins. It's not Czech malt. You know what I mean? Like, because that's what we have. Todd, do you put effort? I mean, you, as a man who has won a $5 bet because he did a water profile finally, I do water profiles. Yeah. And you obviously, do you source authentic grains? I bet you $5 you don't.
He's got a picture to back that up, by the way.
Do I use what?
When you brewed the ESB, did you care where your Maris Otter came from to make?
I thought you said that you use Thor's
authentically. Did you care to use do you worry about the authenticity?
I would have liked to have, but we haven't opened your grain yet for muttons. And
good.
I didn't want to get in trouble. You know what? I say that. I bet that Maris Otter is from England, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So I used authentic English grain.
Okay,
yeah.
So then how about James, when you did that last German Pils? That was probably not a German brand of malt, because I don't see it.
No, it was whatever. I think that was Great West Malting, Pils and malt.
Pilsen, yeah.
And I think I'm not sure about the Cara Pils.
That's what I mean, but the end result is still like, if you're doing a blind taste test with people who enjoy that style, they're going to know, that's a German Pils.
No, I definitely. So I pulled that up so I could. So the Maris Otter was English, but the wheat, I used chocolate wheat because we were out of chocolate. So I think that's German. I use American caramel, and I used American oats. So mine's not authentic.
How dare?
Yeah, it's just what you use, what you can, and create something really good out of it. I think that's the plan.
I think
that's
so
what
too.
I go for.
Well, and that the perk of being live in 2023, aside from it being the greatest time ever to be a home brewer, my friends, is that we have access to options. And so if your recipe calls for, we see substitutions a lot more with hops and yeast than we necessarily do people caring about grains. But like, oh no, they recommended I use White Labs this, and you're like, the local homebrew supply shop's like, I don't have that, but I have Imperial this, and like, okay, you know what I mean? Substitutions happen, and it doesn't, in my opinion, pseudo soapbox, it doesn't kill the authenticity of what you're brewing. It just adds, it's just different. That's it.
I mean, I had to. I know on that mild, I had to flip around the hops too, because we didn't have. I ended up using East Kent Golding for both, and I think it called for half East Kent, half Fuggles, and anyway,
not Fuggles.
So,
you
ended
up
up
something else.
You
did change it, because we did. Thankfully, thanks to our friends at Hops Direct, we had a ton of Kent Goldings. Of what they call it, UK Goldings. I think is there on their website. If you're looking for it, UK Goldings, which it's EKG, guys. But we did switch it over, and it's a fantastic. I wish you had Fuggles, so you could have sent some to our good friend Lorena Evans.
I know she loves her Fuggles.
Favorite hops. She's gonna write me a text now, Fuggles you or something like that. But
she snuggles with the Fuggles. That's what I always.
Oh, new shirt idea for the merch store. Oh, the light bulbs, dude. I like that. I'm going to have her picture because I have a ton of them. She doesn't know. That sounded creepy. They're from Homebrew Cons.
That did sound creepy.
They're from Homebrew Cons and stuff that we've hung out.
I'm calling Bob right after.
I have a ton of photos of Lorena. But I can make it like people love that sticker of you and the broken hydrometer. They love it. If I can make a picture of Lorena, I'd have to get her permission. Obviously, we can't sell shirts and make money off of her likeness. I don't.
Sure, we could.
You're right. Catching Action Legal Department says it's good. Yeah. But back to, let me wrap up Mitchell's question because I've been talking too long. People have dropped off. I think I'll speak for all of us when I say we just want to make good beer. The dedication to authenticity stops for me even at water profiles. And I know Todd is the expert now of water profiles, and I'm the expert of whatever. I claimed expertise, and then people write in angry, no, you're not. But we ultimately, at the end of the day, just want good beer, right, guys? That's all we're shooting for, is just making smooth, good beer that is true to the style we're brewing for the end result. Not necessarily, I want they used this specific strain of yeast back in 1844, and we just want to replicate it as best as we can. Where if that makes us phony, leave it in the comments. Let us know. I've been called worst from better. So,
oh yeah, definitely been called worse than phony.
Yeah, just from you, I've been called way worse. Way worse.
Today, in fact, earlier today
on the phone. And then I cried and got in a bubble bath. But that actually wraps up this week's show, guys. Mitchell, thank you for writing in. Again, guys, final reminder, if you want a gift card to catconnection.com, $25 if you leave us a voicemail at 325-305-6107, $15 if you do homebrewhappyhour.com and the submit a question link at the top of the page, or a text message to that number I just said. So guys, thank y'all so much for spending so much time with me today. We covered a lot. I'm going to be up there at the end of next week. We're going to do more filming because our YouTube channel is going to start having more content drops on like how-tos and shorter consumable stuff. And then what else do we have to do next week? We'll talk about your brewing thing that I cut out of this week's episode. That's
corn muff.
Yeah. But thank you guys thank you guys for joining me this week. I'll catch y'all later.
See ya. Bye.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or leave a voicemail, get yourself a gift card to 325-305-6107. This episode was brought to you by Munton's Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Munton Malts, give them a try by visiting TXbrewing.com, TexasBrewing.com, or join our chug club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with premium recipes when you join the chug club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.